people who, thank you. Even, we are beginning our meeting for the Family Support Council on March 7th. And we are proceeding in our conversation further now on our agenda that was as follows. And we are now proceeding forth, talking about meeting schedules is where we are, and having the discussion about making sure that we are making our schedule available to the community at large, and families and school age children's parents and supporters. So we're now trying to discuss with Chioma's suggestion to remind us again that we need to make sure that we are offering these meetings that are conducive as much as possible to families, to their schedules. And at this point, making the opportunity to maybe ask of them what is the best time to have these meetings. And I proceeded to share with Chioma. I am trying to get 2 parents. I'm trying to give a recap. I don't know how well I'm doing here, but to get to parents through the school system. And my in note to that is to say that I'm hoping that I can get there, or places, or to schools and places of interest, to do surveys and things to find out that kind of information about when's the best time to engage them. You know what I'm saying? Which would help us in us figuring out when is the best time to have these meetings. Okay, so that's where I was going, Chioma, with sharing all of that, is that I hear you, and I definitely want us to continue that we find the way to reach them. You're right, a planning meeting. I think we were kind of saying the same thing. A planning meeting for us, or when we're trying to think through some things, might be that 1 o'clock at Thursdays, and then when we have someone come, we kind of assess what we think that'll be, you know what I'm saying, based on the feedback that hopefully we'll get that says, maybe we should try this time. And it might be a trial and error. It might be that we do initially, because it's not like, we put a survey out and we're going to hear right away, right? You know what I'm saying? Get a response back to be able to plan this year, because that would cause us to lose time and momentum if we wait for that to, fully take its run. So maybe we try when we do 1, maybe we do a 9, you know what I'm saying? Maybe we do a 6 p.m., you know what I'm saying? And just see, you know what I'm saying? But always keep our Thursdays at, 1 o'clock, you know what I'm saying? That we maybe, even though it's public, it's all public right now, or it's always public, but we're under the OMA, it's a little different. So we can keep it flexible, but I do think we need to make sure we have at least one time, you know what I'm saying, in which we know that all of us will be here, so that we can make decisions and vote on them. Is where I'm going. So does that sound good, Chioma, or anyone else? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sounds good. And thing is that if the target is sincerely, which again, ironic, if we're targeting, younger families in schools, and it's linked to DDS, and school age kids do not, under the age of 14, do not exist in the DDS universe. It would be interesting to know how we shape the agenda that meets DDS's needs, and then also meets what would interest a family of a 5-year-old.
Okay. Well, I think somebody else wanted to speak, and I'll let you in a minute, but I need to make sure I clarify something that Chioma said. Remember, the family support, I'll get you, Thomas, in just a minute. I see your hand. The Family Support Council is ran by us. Yes, we receive the support from DDS through Catherine, but we are looking at the whole lifespan. So they don't dictate, you know what I'm saying, that we only look at adults or transition age. We're literally, the Family Support Council is supposed to be, from the perspective, birth to death. Seriously. I mean, you know what I'm saying? we could have a parent on here that's pregnant with a child with Down syndrome. That, I mean, so that's what Lifespan for Family Support Council is. So they don't dictate our audience, you know what I'm saying? Do they have at this point in time of how they support us? I mean, that Catherine is, administratively doing those types of supports for us, but we can reach out to anyone across the DC residents, even though our focus is IDD, you know what I'm saying? The Family Support Council is, if we look at our, hold on here, I'm getting to it. Can anybody see my screen, I hope?
Yeah.
Okay, so we
On
are,
laptop? No, fine.
yeah, we are working families and intellectual and developmental disabilities throughout the lifespan in the District of Columbia. So that's the only limitations, okay? If you want to call it that, you know what I'm saying? That's the limitations. Now, remember, we can have individuals with dual diagnosis. So it's not like, we wouldn't have someone that had IDD and mental health. I mean, we're supporting them as well, right? But that, if any parameters we have, that's where it is right there, is the IDD, but through the lifespan. So FYI, you know what I'm saying? Just a reminder of that to everyone. And we are not called the DDS Family Support Council, because I'm not saying you said that, Chioma, but I've heard people say that on the council. We're not that. We're Family Support Council. We're supposed to be an independent body, right?
Yeah.
You heard my quote, independent body.
Remind DDS of that. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what we're supposed to be. So I thought it was, I heard someone speaking before I seen Thomas's hand. Was that a Zeb? Maybe I'm wrong. Okay,
No, that was Daisy, I think.
okay, because
Okay.
someone was started to speak and then I seen Thomas's hand. So I'm gonna get the person, Thomas, that Daisy said she's tried to say something. Go ahead, Daisy.
With regard to the topic of how to put this nicely, if we're still talking about the Open Meetings Act and us being under that, the last time we met, I think I mentioned the fact that when Family Support Council was initially created, that was the OMA is going to defeat the purpose of the Family Support Council because of what it was supposed to be when it was first mandated. And I suggested that we go back to whoever is insisting that everybody meet in an OMA fashion. That's not what the Family Support Council was created to do. We haven't changed our mandate. So you're
Right.
telling us we have to do it. I think that there's a way to use that to, I'm not saying to not do it, but it's counterproductive to what we're supposed to do, to remind them of that.
Okay,
So,
well, we do have as you were here, well, we had talked at the last meeting, is that was a priority of ours that we need to vote on today, which Craig will be back at 2:00. So hopefully we'll still have a quorum that we were going to vote on, because we all had talked about that would be one of our major priorities, is to get us out from under the OMA Act. So we are, hopefully on point with that as we vote about that. Thomas, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I was thinking like this, that if you put it out there for the young people that you're trying to get
Mhm,
on to the council,
mhm,
if you were to put it out there that if they need help,
mhm.
if they need somebody to counsel them or whatnot, that like we could like give them place with someone who been through the process, who knows how to navigate the system or what have you. I think more and more people would join, and you'll get a lot of young people that's joining because they're scared, because their child have a disability, they don't know what to do. So you make that perfectly clear that they can get that help from the family support. You'll be able to get a lot more young people joining.
I'm glad that you brought that up, Thomas, about young people. And even as I think of your role as a self-advocate, that we do still have a role open. We still have Catherine, help me with the title of it. But we do still have,
Emerging leader, that sort of thing.
yes, emerging
is that what you're
leaders.
looking for? Mhm.
Yes, we still have that role, I believe, open. So we do need or asking for a self-advocate. I can't say that it has to be limited to a person under 18, but we do need that representation. You know what I'm saying? To fill that position, meaning a self-advocate period or emerging leader period. But what you were saying, Thomas, triggered me to think about that particular role that is still open. I hear you that, you know, if maybe children would get more younger people if you're if I'm understanding you correctly, if they were matched with someone to kind of help them, is what you were saying, through, you know, what they were going through or what they needed help with, right?
Right, yeah, that, yeah, especially if we make it clear to them that they can get the help with their child, whatnot, any fears and stuff that they might be going through. You know, we could like, if we can't help them, we could refer them to people that can and stuff like that. So as
Right.
long as they know exactly what the Family Support Council is about, then they'll join. But otherwise, just by saying Family Support Council, they might not know exactly what that means. But support in itself says that, but sometimes you got to spell things out for people or for them to understand.
Yeah, and I do believe your point that, you know, that there's definitely some need to define who we are and what we do, right? To the community at large, which is why part of this agenda does involve committees. And so that's where we do need some work there. A lot of this work that was done before and the last year and a half too, is trying to get some of our framework together and foundation together. And then what we got was the whole OMA thing. So that just is what that is. So why we have as a suggested priority one is the OMA. So I am going to, we don't have a, but for the most part, hopefully everybody's contemplated the suggestion of Chioma, which I think was a good one, that we have a planning kind of, that's a staple, you know what I'm saying, time. And then as we are planning things and figuring out what dates and times to invite particular agencies or address certain issues, that we think more intentional about what that time is. And like I said, we'll probably have to play around, you know what I'm saying, with what that is, because we're not going to know right away with the exact time or the majority of time until there's still some work getting into, you know, community. I was just using school as a target because I can't be everywhere at the same time. You know what I'm saying? But this year I was targeting, okay, I want to try to really get in there, right? And that's all of us, not just me, you know what I'm saying? But just trying to, and that's what all of us should be doing in whatever our perspective areas are, that we are letting parents know we exist and when these meetings are. In the works of the welcome packet, you know what I'm saying? Those kinds of things, so we can start handing things out that kind of says who we are, what we do, kind of thing. So that's hopefully what these committee work can do to make that happen. So when he comes back, or anyone else that comes on, that we can vote on at least the staple, keeping the staple date, I call it, you know, for the second Thursday at 1 for planning and those kind of thing, council work. And then we will suggest other times as we plan for other agencies and community members to come on that may be giving some type of topic or assistance in areas. Any, Thomas, you didn't have another question. I thought I seen your hand up again. Are you all is well? Okay. I see in the chat, it says it's welcome packet, another committee. Was that you, Catherine? Okay, yes,
It
that's
is, so if
yeah.
that's something that you want to have a group that
right.
focuses on
And so I was
creating
going to,
that faster, that might be something that
okay, so
the
you were in
family
agreement
support
with what I was
people-
saying. Okay, because
Yeah, but is that something to formalize who's gonna work specifically on those things for either orientation for new members with
I
all the
definitely
stuff that
think
you
so.
worked on? And maybe the things that are community facing about what is the Family Support Council in a
Right. I
jazzier
definitely think it
sort
needs
of
to be.
website version.
I definitely think it needs to be a Pacific committee because again, it's outreach. You know what I'm saying? And outreach always takes concerted effort. You know what I'm saying? To do. You know what I'm saying? And plan how you do it rather. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely, in my opinion, you know what I'm saying, a area that we need to do that. But as we look at these priorities, these were the three that were brought up last meeting. Disconnecting Family Support Council from the Open Meetings Act, excuse me. Second, collaborating, well, not necessarily second, but another one, collaborating with DC Police Department. And then I asked the question of other areas, and one of our members, and only two of our members, brought up the loss of Medicaid services for families and making that one of our priorities. And I placed on here other again, just in case there was someone else that had another priority that was going to be put in the hat. Keep in mind, let me make this clear. This is just a list. We need to figure out which ones we're going to do. It's not that we can even solve all the problems of the world of these 4 or 3, but we need to make an effort to say which one we're going to work on and how we're going to work on it. You know what I'm saying? Because all of these, a collaborating, keyword is collaborating, right? We're not going to be able to solve all the problems with the police department, but we need to start collaborating. Disconnecting is going to take some work, you know what I'm saying, to do that. It's going to be some meetings with council members. There's going to be some work to do. And then loss of Medicaid services, that topic, you know what I'm saying, addressing that, because there are, I'm getting calls where, matter of fact, I believe, Carla, are you with Health Services for Children with Special Needs? Oh, I'm so sorry. Am I getting my
No, it's
partners
okay.
mixed up?
I am with the Department of Behavioral Health.
I'm so sorry. Please forgive me, Carla. I think I'm getting you mixed up with, obviously with someone else at HSN. How are you doing today? We're glad that you were able to make it.
I'm doing well. Thank you so much.
That's good. I do want to ask though, I mean, you are a part of this meeting, and I'm curious from your perspective as we're talking about priorities. If you like, you don't have to, but if you have any suggestions of maybe the families you work with that you feel like that Family Support Council needs to consider, please feel free to join in the conversation.
Well, okay. I primarily work with 18 and up,
Okay,
and the majority of the people that I work with are with the Department on Disability Services.
okay.
However, I am also on the board at St. Coletta.
Okay.
So those are probably the families you're targeting in terms of, because they have started like a kindergarten class.
Oh, really? Okay.
They are, ground zero on up.
Oh,
And I'm sure that they could definitely use the level of support, pretty much to help. I mean, St. Coletta does a good job of helping them to navigate. However, there's always some questions. There's always some ambiguity, and there's always a level of confusion.
mhm.
And they will probably utilize this Family Support Council a lot more than, I guess, some of the other community-based resources. So please keep talking.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was inclusive, you know what I'm saying, of
Yes.
making sure, because I didn't want it to sound like it's just us, because this is a public meeting. And I'm glad that you have decided to join us as one of our members, you know what I'm saying, agency members. So I want to make sure we are including, because we need you all just as much as you need us, you know what I'm saying? So want us to work together, right? But Craig is also has his daughter attends, Craig's not on right now. I don't know if you were on earlier, but his daughter goes to St. Coletta. And so I know, we do definitely want to make sure that we, let the group of families there and students know that we're here, no matter, like you said, if it's kindergarten, you know what I'm saying, to over 18, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
We want to get to those families as well to be a part of the Family Support Council and any other resources, information that we can share. So, thanks for sharing that, Carla. I appreciate it.
Mm.
So was there any other areas, I think Chioma, you weren't here last time. Was there any other things that, that you wanted to throw in the hat? You know what I'm saying? I know there's a whole
let me
list.
count the ways, let
Exactly.
me
I know
count
there's a
all
whole
the
list.
things.
The key word is priority. And the other thing is when I ask this question, we also not only say priority, but also as a family support council, what we think we can achieve too. You know what I'm saying? That we can feel like we can get to bring some momentum of us being progressive. You know what I'm saying? Too, if you understand what
So
I mean.
this always, yeah, sorry, sorry
No
to
problem. Go
let me
ahead.
let you finish. Yeah, I mean, that is exactly why, my unfortunate political scientist mind kind of, the machine cannot process how we're connected to an agency, and yet we are serving interests outside of the agency we actually have influence, which is why we're here. So I mean, to that, I would want to stay, somewhere closer to the purview of what I think DDS can do, where we can actually see real impact through the agency that we have, that is most invested in
Mhm.
this process. So
Mhm.
to that end, like, I mean, I'm very school-based and school-centered. I've been saying I started this council in this process when my kids were in early childhood, and I stay loyal to early childhood. And it is disheartening that there's not a lot of understanding of the trials and that population faces, and how it bleeds then into the rest of the
Mhm.
system,
Mhm.
corrupts your entire experience because you
Mhm.
started it out incorrectly and in trauma and dysfunction. I would maybe then zero in on that, because there's a lot, like the pandemic has obliterated a lot of people, but I can't think of a more of the vulnerable populations are those children that are not getting identified, and what that's doing to services or helping systems not understand the need, because it looks like, oh, we're seeing less and less people. No, what we're seeing is less and less people get identified. What we're seeing is less and less needs get met. What we're seeing is a disinterest in
Mhm.
our system. So I would say, where is the early childhood agenda here? I would love to see that as it connects to the lifespan, because it is.
Mhm.
It's a multi-generational space. And then the other part is, well, there's two more parts. I think that if we're not talking transportation, I don't know what we're talking about here, because that is a hemorrhaging system, both on the student transportation side, and as we have also had in recent meetings, where the transportation providers for disability transport for medical services is also horrific and not really serving and meeting the needs of the people that it needs to be met. And I think transportation is a huge solvable problem, that if we took an interest in, I think we may get more traction. And then the other part is that, is it HSCSN? Is it respite? Is it system wide? I don't know. Maybe just putting it on the home care system. The services that are supposed to happen in the home and the community that are not clinical based are abysmal right now. I mean, it's just, not only can you not find providers, the quality is deteriorating
Mhm.
rapidly and
Mhm.
across sectors, but home care is a very fragile system and a unique system, and very specific people are eligible for that, for these kinds of home care services, whether it's EPD or again, the child-based HSCSN stuff. It is not working and it's killing people. It's killing caregivers. It's also creating a lot of negligence. So I think those are critical things. To me, those are the essential things. And while we have, you know, our DBH rep here, our behavioral health system, it does not speak to the needs of the population at any age and any stage, right? Because we do show up very much in the behavioral health systems, but we're invisibilized in it. And so, you know, and that's very specific to the ID population that also have, you know, psychiatric needs. So that's
Okay,
those are
so,
the things.
okay, so it being, I think we all on this council will say amen, amen, amen to every one of what you just said, for sure, right? But the thing is where I want everybody to think about this. We've had a lot of discussion in the last 20 minutes, right? As we're thinking about priorities of what's on the screen and what I'm about to put in the chat of what Chioma said, which I'll read it, but I'm gonna put it here. Her suggested priorities: early intervention, transportation, schooling, community, home care, and IDD invisible to behavioral health. So those, that's a summation, of course. I mean, you know, just the topic areas of what you said. But, and then we have OMA coming out, Family Support Council. We have the police department, and just so that everybody understands why that's there, is because we had Craig had he hosted a fireside chat, whatever the meeting, with the police Lord Jesus, police chief Pamela
Yeah,
Smith the other month, beginning of January, somewhere around there. And so I had submitted a question, and it was apparent that she had interest in the area, but had not really made those steps, right? And of course, Craig and Catherine and all of us, you know, were saying, you know, we definitely want her to join in the conversation with us with Family Support Council to hear the needs of our community. At that meeting, Robin from Georgetown reminded her or informed her that the DD Council had already submitted things to the police department. I think that was during the pandemic, and I believe I might have been in part of those meetings. Those who us were, you know, when we were in the pandemic and we had those noon meetings, as different agencies and DD Council kind of headed up those meetings as we were trying to survive through the pandemic. And during that time, I think that list was created of some things suggested to the police department. So she was given that information. She said she was going to look over it, so forth and so on. So that's where that particular priority is thought about, because we've already touched her in a sense, you know what I'm saying, to get her attention, or she has said has interest. So that was one that was thought, okay, because there's interest there, why don't we drive forward on that particular priority? And then the third one was the loss of Medicaid services, which was brought up later, just like I'm doing today, as I asked the question if there's any other priorities. That was a current one, the loss of Medicaid services that was brought up. So with all that being said, as all of us look at all of these priorities, if you could put in the chat at this point, you know what I'm saying, what are your top two of these 6, 7, I'm sorry, I didn't forgot how many there are. I'll repeat them if you need me to. You see what's on the screen. And then if you look in the chat, I
don't
did
know how to
this.
look in the chat.
I'm sorry, say again.
Daisy doesn't know how to look in the chat and my
Okay, no
fingers.
problem. I'll say them again.
No, it's not, you have to say them again. I'm saying I don't know how to respond back in the chat.
Okay, do you want to share it with me? Do you mind sharing out loud to me? Or
No, I don't
texting
mind
me?
sharing out loud
Okay.
to you. Medicaid services, of course, that would be one. But I think
Catherine, are you
Chioma
here?
has,
Mhm.
Chioma, to the point of the whole transportation piece as well as, well, the schools. I heard abysmal on the schools, but my thing would be the Medicaid piece. And if there was something we could do with regard, excuse me, I'm having a little bit of trouble breathing here, with regard to what's going on, you know, I know, Rhonda, you're saying you're trying to get us into the schools, which could spread a lot of stuff other places. So that one, and then, like I said, the Medicaid services. That's just, I don't want to go into long because we're on short time here. But
Gotcha.
those are the two that I would put
Okay.
my hand in.
Okay, and if you think about the school thing, my thing was thinking from the perspective of, that's kind of outreach, right? So that could be a committee work, okay? We could
Okay,
look
yeah.
at that as more committee work, okay?
Gotcha.
To get that filled out. So Daisy has said, Catherine, she said loss of Medicaid services and, Lord Jesus. What was the second one you said? I'm sorry.
No,
Does any-
you know, there's, you know, school networking and the
Oh,
very
that's
fact,
what, which is what I said we would put as committee work, if that's true.
right, okay,
So
yeah.
did you have another one that you want to suggest as a priority, a second priority?
Second priority.
Mhm.
Not, I'm so entrenched in the Medicaid one. Just let me give you that
Okay,
one.
I got
priority.
you. That's
Okay.
fine, sweetie, if you don't want to
Okay.
give another one. Anyone else, unless it's been put in the chat, which it looks like it has been, or I haven't been keeping up here. Hold on. There's a lot of discussion going on in this chat. Okay, let's see here. Okay, clarification in front of suggested priorities. Okay,
Can I
prevention,
have some clarification? I'm so sorry.
sure.
It may have been mentioned before I logged in, but what I'm seeing in the chat is that it's a reference to DBH and, let me see, for the IDD population and behavioral health.
Yes.
That is
She,
the primary team that I work on.
okay,
Well, we need to have a conversation because I got stories, I got case studies for you of,
I
I
apologize
mean,
for that.
your presence is needed desperately then as somebody of influence in that space for sure. I mean, I'd love us to be able to unpack that in, you know,
Okay.
good ways.
okay. And thank you for asking that question. You know what I'm saying, to get clarification. I appreciate that. We all do. You know what I'm saying, that you could have just said, you know, let it slide. So I'm so glad that you were observant of what was being said and asking, because we do need the support of all, you know what I'm saying, and us working together, as I said before. If you have that conversation, Chioma, could you be prepared when you speak to her to bring it back to the rest of the council? Okay, so that we know.
Yeah, I mean, I think,
Okay.
so we're talking about our priorities and how to engage them. So I'd love to keep it in the process. I'm always happy to sidebar. And, you know, by the way, Carla, I'm very much connected to DBH. I'm also on the coordinating council for school-based mental health. That program does not acknowledge that students with intellectual disabilities have behavioral health needs outside of tier 3. But I mean, there's a lot to be said, even outside of school, like adult aged people with disabilities or not with IDD specifically that have psychiatric. I mean, there's a huge campaign that I'm part of with ACLU now, and it's a big situation. So lots to talk about there.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Hey, Rhonda, sorry, I put in the chat box instead of writing it in my notepad. That's not what I want to post. Sorry.
Okay, so you have down, I see, you put prevention and early intervention,
Yeah,
right?
no, I didn't mean to write it there, but.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
No.
So what's yours then, sweetie?
Oh, we already said that, remember the.
Okay, so
first-
you still agree with that? You still
Yeah.
agree with the
Yeah.
OMA and the police department, right? Okay, as your
Yeah.
two. Okay, I just want to make sure then. Okay, so Catherine, did you get that? Okay. And then Thomas, did you want to share
Yeah,
what you want us to, the council to focus on of the topics that we've just discussed? Did you need me to repeat them again?
no,
Okay.
I'm
Okay,
good.
so which ones, what would you like to say that we focus on, a
Okay.
priority.
Your
Those
phone.
two things.
Focus on more, more activities for the parents to get their children into in schools or whatnot. Let them know that their child, although their child have a disability, they don't mean that their child can't do anything. They say, so make sure that they know you got Special Olympics out here, got other activities, you got rec centers that they could get involved with, or what have you. Because nowadays, we're all children, whether or not they got a disability or not. If you don't give them something to do, they'll find something to do. And the kids, they've been finding the wrong things to do. So that could be a focus.
Okay, so based on what you were saying, I understand that it kind of flows into the whole thing about providing resources, therefore trying to get connected to those parents to give the information and resources, right?
Yeah,
So, but of the which we could, again, another part of outreach and quote unquote membership or outreach committee, something else we need to talk about, but of the priorities that we spoke of today, do you want me to repeat them? Because we're going, well, I'll say that. Let me back up. You did say, if you're suggesting another priority, which is information and resources to families, I received that. But
Yeah.
we did talk about 7 of them today, right?
okay.
I don't know if you heard those, but we will write that down. Catherine, you have that down, that he was suggesting that a priority for us, but we did have 7 of them that we were talking about today, and we were asking for everyone to select 2 of those listed, okay?
Oh,
Okay, so I'm gonna repeat them again if you like, so that you can choose
Okay.
from that list, okay? And if you have any
Okay.
questions when I'm stating them, please let me know, okay?
okay.
The first one is disconnecting the Family Support Council from the Open Meetings Act.
Open Meetings Act, what's that?
Mhm. The Open Meetings Act is a law regulation rather that the Family Support Council is under in order to run our meetings, okay?
Mhm.
And so we are responsible under this Open Meetings Act to make sure that we are announcing the meetings appropriately, that we
Mhm.
are making sure that we are making ourselves available according to what the Open Meetings Act has stated. This area was important, was brought up as a priority because under the Open Meetings Act, we're not able to create our meetings so that is a safe place for parents and family members to discuss their concerns, because under the Open Meetings Act, we have to place our meetings in recording and also place them on websites or wherever we're going to do that, so it's open to the public. So there are certain things that some of us on this council have said, this is not making us truly available to parents or giving a place in which they feel safe to be able to share their personal concerns about services and supports that they're receiving here in the city. Does that help to give some clarity? I don't know if
But they might not want everybody to know what they're talking about.
I'm sorry, say again.
They might not want everyone to know what they're talking about.
Right, well,
Okay.
yeah, that could be the case. But we do know, as we all are adults, that, and I didn't say this at the beginning of this meeting, but it is to be, us as council members should understand that if we share something in a meeting, you know what I'm saying, that we have to think about what we're sharing. If it's something that we want others to know, whether it's the 12 of us, 11 of us, or if it's the whole community, right? So as council members, we kind of already know that, right? But people that are coming in that are not part of the Family Support Council, and they're, upset about maybe they're not getting the support they need from HSCSN or DDS or Department of Behavioral Health, and they're looking for the council to be a safe place for them to say, hey, this is what I'm going through, my loved one's going through, I need help. And they
Uh-huh.
may or may not know how to really say that in a place in which all their information would be shared. So with the Open Meetings Act, we don't have control in the sense of maintaining that information as much as we did before, making it a safe place to do that. So
Yeah.
that's why it's been suggested as a priority that we go before the council, have meetings with the DC council, I'm saying, to say we want to be disconnected from having to adhere to follow the rules of the Open Meetings Act. So there's several
Okay.
things to it, but that's the gist of it, and I try my best to explain it.
Okay.
The second one is working with the police department concerning how they interact with our community and many other things. But one of the things of how the police interacts with people with disabilities. So that was another priority.
Mhm.
Another priority or focus that we were talking about or suggested was the families who have lost Medicaid services and trying to find a way to support them and bring those agencies, which is DC Health, to the table to do something about those who are losing Medicaid services erroneously. I mean, in error. And I mean, not
Mhm.
that they should have lost them. You know what I'm saying? They're just
Right.
all of a sudden they find out I had somebody go to CVS and didn't realize they said, oh, you owe $7. And they just thought, oh, it's just a, mix up, and then found out, oh, the reason why for the last 3 months I have to pay $7 because I didn't know I didn't have Medicaid anymore. It's terrible.
Mhm.
Then go to a dentist appointment and find out you don't have insurance. I'm sorry, but that was just over the top. So that's the kind of stuff families have been going through. So that was put up as a priority, that we help to get the agency, which would be DC Health, to the table to discuss this and get it fixed as much as from our efforts that we can advocate for. And then Chioma brought up early intervention. Was there any that I've said thus far that you're interested in or think should be a priority? Which one?
Yeah, the ones about the Medicaid, what have you. Because
Okay.
that should be worked on because like you got all these people, the HMO
Mhm.
that comes up,
Mhm.
and people don't realize when you sign up with HMO, it limits you. It limits you on your medicine, limits you on what your doctors could be. And when you got a doctor that listens to you, when it comes to yourself or your child, them have a disability, you might not want to switch doctors.
Mhm.
So knowing that Medicaid and Medicare is all you need, you don't need to sign with HMO. So a lot of times people sign up with the HMOs and they want to get stuck into something that they don't want to have. So being educated on that, so they be able to get their medicine paid for or what have you, is very important.
Okay. And then the other ones was early intervention, meaning being able to support those students or families with young kids who are not they're not being identified that they have a disability and getting those services early, you know what I'm saying, in
Mhm.
their lives was another area of focus. Another was the Department of Behavioral Health. And another one was transportation, that school and outside of school, those issues that people have with transportation. So I know you said Medicaid. Was there another one that you were interested in?
Yeah, transportation. The
Okay,
one
I
you
thought you
mentioned,
would say that.
because like with transportation, Metro's budget been cut.
Mhm.
So, and people think Metro Access is separate from the buses and the subway, but they're not. It's all one budget.
Mhm.
So a lot of times, when July the 1st comes,
Mhm.
a lot of people not gonna get door-to-door service anymore from Metro Access. Because like, just to say, you live like 3/4 of a mile away from a working bus stop, they're gonna be shutting down some of the buses. You
Oh,
don't get
crap.
picked up.
Oh.
Then also they saying if you have been getting 24-hour service, which Metro Access been given, if your buses stop running around 6 or 7 or something like that, that's when Metro Access is gonna stop running out there. See, me, I would have 24-hour service because I'm over here on 7th Street and Georgia Avenue where the 70 and the 79. So I would have that. But if I was to go someplace else that do not have bus service running past a certain time, I go on getting stuck out there.
Mm.
So Metro Access was always been going by the buses, the bus route, on any particular area that they was going to. But they just decided to give us 24-hour service everywhere we went. But now that's gonna be cut. So figuring out transportation for people to get their children to doctor's appointments, get themselves, because the parents are not taking care of themselves, they can't take care of the child. And back and forth to school and stuff like that, that might be a huge issue for a lot of the parents. Come July the 1st.
Wow, thanks. Thank you, Thomas. You know what I'm saying, for the update of information. So transportation, Catherine, is his a second one. Craig has jumped back on, and so I'm going to try my best to do a recap. A lot has changed or happened since you were gone, Craig. Okay.
Can I just clarify real quick on Thomas's
Sure.
first one? Because I heard it, that the unwinding and the people losing eligibility with some system issues and portals. It sounded like, Thomas, and tell me if I got this right, that
Okay.
your priority was about making sure that people had all the information they needed to make an informed decision about, you know, a Medicaid plan or a Medicare Advantage plan versus traditional, to make sure people had more information about that versus specific issues with enrolling and people getting dropped from Medicaid coverage at all.
Right.
I have that right? Okay,
Uh-huh.
just making sure.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause a lot of the HMOs, they don't let you have everything that Medicaid and Medicare will offer you. They can limit you. So knowing what the limits are and be able to make the decision for yourself and your family is very important.
Okay. All right. Well, Catherine, I'm going to say them and I'm going to ask of you if you could put them in the chat as I say them to Craig, okay? While you were gone, we were starting, well, let's see here. Meeting schedule, we decided that, or we discussed that the meeting schedule would be for planning purposes for the Family Support Council. We would stick to the first Thursdays at 1 o'clock. But when we have those opportunities, when an agency, if it be police department, if it be, you know, agency is saying whoever, you know what I'm saying, that is coming, and we want families to, we want to make sure that the meeting is as accessible to families, we may change those times around to make it accessible to families. So if we need to make it at 9 o'clock on one day and maybe 6 p.m. another time, because we're trying to reach families, right? And get them involved in the discussion, okay?
Just,
One
I'm not
clarification.
available that time.
What time is that, 9?
The second, we need.
I'm not available the first Thursdays every month.
Okay, excuse me, did I speak wrong?
Second, yes.
Excuse me, I meant to say second Thursday, excuse me, Craig.
Okay.
I'm trying to keep in head all these things that I
When you
got.
said everything
to do
changed, I
right
got
now.
nervous. I go, okay.
Yeah, we've
No,
talked
second's
about.
fine. Second's fine.
It's a slip of tongue on my part
Yeah.
because a lot's happened, okay? So then we also said with that, I'm trying to remember what else we said here on that. We did say 1 o'clock Thursdays, right?
Yes,
Um,
second Thursday.
but then we would, as a group, decide, let's say we have the school system come, right, or whoever, that we would sit down and think about, when do we want to have this? Because really, we want to be able to outreach, get to families and really figure out what works best, but we don't know right now, so we're going to move it around or make a decision together that when we'll make it 9 o'clock or 6 or whatever, okay, initially.
Okay.
Hopefully, over time, we can get some surveys or whatever and figure out what works. I'm moving kind of faster because I want to get us to vote is where I'm going. Okay, and so then we moved on to the priorities. We looked at the priorities that we had, Craig, remember the last meeting, right?
Yes,
That were brought up. Those were the three. I asked if there were any other areas that people had suggested for priorities. And yes, the question is yes. Okay, with those additional, in addition to those three, oh Lord Jesus, the other ones were early intervention, getting access to services for early intervention and being diagnosed. The lack of those things that are happening in the early intervention world, right? Secondly was transportation, school within the school system, as well as and the community at large, right? If it's metro access, a little bit of everything, right? Transportation. Third one was the Department of Behavioral Health, and it appears to be the lack of access being made for our community, IDD community, as for Department of Behavioral Health. Okay, and then we had, it seemed like a fourth one somewhere. The fourth one was, oh, no, there were areas that were brought up that I was suggesting probably were better for maybe community work, right? Which would be accessing the parents, right? You know what I'm saying? Which is what I said before, but some were making some other suggestions that were around giving them information and resources and reaching families to do that, which I was putting under the umbrella of community. Probably we need to make that community work, which is our outreach and membership kind of stuff, right? And did I miss another one, Catherine, or anyone? I felt like there was 7. I kept saying 7, but I know I've now said, I said I think that might have been,
Let me scroll back up and check.
yeah, I think that was it. So now, Craig, if you could, Catherine, share what each person said of their 2, I asked them to give their top 2 of these 6 really of priorities. You know what I'm saying? If you could read those, Catherine, for me. I think I asked you to list that what each one person said.
And then Chioma, if I got this right, your top 2 were prevention and early intervention and transportation, is that right?
Yeah, I just want to be careful on how we frame it. I see that it's, additional priorities, early intervention, access and diagnosis. I don't want that to just translate as BERT to 3 or, because that's how, that's the knee-jerk thought on it. It's beyond 3. I'm also not seeing 5-year-olds, and some people calculate early childhood up until 8. So I just want us to be flexible and understand, which is why the concept of prevention and early intervention sends a different message to just saying early intervention, because that says something specific to some people.
Okay, yeah, and
But
that's. I
other
just
than
made
that,
it.
yes, to, keep it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm looking at your thing. Okay, there's that, and then we have Daisy Medicaid unwinding. We have a ZEB, OMA, and the MPD that you stuck with those as your top priorities.
I get, did home care get absorbed into the Medicaid issue?
What? Home care? Oh, yeah, she did mention home care.
But that we could put that in Medicaid, because that's a very,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking it was going to be under, at least in my head. But I don't want to speak, for you, sweetie, but I was definitely putting that under the Medicaid piece. I'm sorry, go ahead, Catherine.
Okay, I'm looking, so Thomas had education about extracurricular activities for children with disabilities. And then I think we changed that up and assistance with insurance selection for families and then transportation access. So Thomas, for the second two, the insurance selection, help for families and the transportation access, are those your top two?
Thomas?
Just
Yeah.
making, because we
Yeah.
recorded something from an earlier piece and then, okay, all right.
Okay,
Uh,
so
Yeah.
I don't see where anything is high. I think transportation and Medicaid might have been the two that had more than one. I'll say that. You know what I'm saying? If I'm hearing correctly what Catherine said to me. I didn't say mine. I am saying OMA because I think we have to get under that because so that's just me. And then I would say the Medicaid myself. That's my two.
Okay.
Okay,
Excuse me.
sure,
I'm
honey.
sorry.
Thomas, excuse me.
Do we have people on the council that live in Maryland?
We don't at this time. Oh, wait a minute. No, everybody lives in, yeah, no, I don't know, we don't. We do have someone, I think, right? That lives in Maryland?
Mhm. Yeah, because like
Yeah,
Maryland.
we do have one person that lives in Maryland, but they support families in DC.
Yeah, because
Mhm.
Maryland is the ones that are gonna get hit the hardest when it comes to transportation. And some places in DC that have the buses running on the Maryland line that go from DC into Maryland, they don't get hit really hard when it comes to the cuts, when it comes to the buses and stuff.
Okay,
So knowing the transportation in your individual neighborhoods and knowing how you're gonna get back home with yourself and your children, that's gonna be very important for everybody to know about, okay?
mhm.
So if anybody needs help trying to figure out stuff, I'll try to help as much as I can. Cause you know I'm on the WMATA advisory board
Okay,
and I can get you hooked up with people that can help you further, you know, to see that really help you know about it. But they haven't chose what buses yet that they're gonna cancel. Cause they had the meetings and stuff. And one meeting I was in that meeting last Tuesday. And like I had to run up out of the place because everybody thought it was a shooting. But
Oh.
it wasn't.
oh,
It
wow.
wasn't. It was just a tow truck. The piece fell off a tow truck
Mhm.
and popped and shattered the glass to the point
Oh
that
my
everybody's
God.
like, shooter, shooter, shooter. So
No.
so I had to get up out of that place.
Well,
It
I'm
was a
glad you were
mess.
safe.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I'm glad you were safe, but
Yeah.
Chioma makes a good point about what you're saying, that a lot of our DC residents get supports outside of DC, which is Maryland, and transporting to those places definitely a contributing factor. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Like
Issue
some
of getting there.
of the
Did you need to
doctor's
speak,
offices
Chioma? Because I
is
really
in
need to
Maryland.
get to Craig. I'm sorry,
We,
Thomas.
I
Okay.
have to, I mean, I have to leave at exactly 2:30.
Okay, so
It's an important conversation. I don't want to abbreviate it, but I do want to be able to be here to vote.
yeah, so did you see any of those six what were your two from that list?
So that would be in addition to the two.
No, because we can't, we only got 1 year. I mean, not to say we only have where are we at? March? We have 9 months, right?
Well, I want to collaborate with the DC Metropolitan Police Department. So that'd
Okay, that's your one of yours. And what's your other one?
And so the open meetings one is no longer one?
It is one. That's the one I selected. OMA and Medicaid is what I selected. It definitely is. Those three on the screen are, and then 4 other ones are, yeah, 3 other ones.
I would stick with OMA and the police department. Medicaid would have been my third choice.
Okay, all right, so those two, because we want to make sure that we are, because the Medicaid and the OMA are big chunks, you know what I'm saying? Lots of nuggets to it, you know what I'm saying?
Fully understood.
Yeah, so we don't want to,
And I just want everyone to know, it was just this one day. It's just when we moved the meeting, I already had a bunch of meetings planned.
oh, no problem. We're moving forward. So that's where we are. Did you get that, Catherine? Okay.
Can I,
Oh,
just-
sorry, Chioma, your hand was up, my fault. If you
Yeah,
can
no,
be
no
quick,
worries.
'cause we gotta vote.
Yeah, very quickly. I think, because I've missed so many meetings, this is not the time to ask for a recap. Maybe I just go back and look at notes. I'm not sure what we mean by OMA. I think that sounds like somebody else's problem, not ours. Like if there's an open meetings issue, I would let DDS deal with that. Like, what do we have to do? I don't know what we can solve in terms of open meetings acts here. Is it the privacy issues? I've missed things. And then, so I'm unclear to make an informed vote on something like that, based on where we are now. And then two, in terms of the MPD issue, like I look at behavioral health needs issues and I immediately attach them to whatever is going wrong with when MPD officers come out. They're the least qualified to deal with the crisis. So who are the most qualified and why are they missing from the table?
And just, if I may, briefly on the MPD issue, since I sponsored that one. I did a fireside chat that Rhonda came to and that Catherine came to. And it had a lot of different
Yeah, I did
stakeholders.
share that. I did share that part, Craig.
And so the main point is, I think that the chief wants to work with us, and I think we have an ability to get them to adopt a lot of additional training in the area of autism, neurodiversity, and mental health issues. And then also work on putting together a policy of bringing other sibling agencies, not always police, responding to these things and criminalizing mental health issues. So I think we have a big opportunity there because she expressed interest and I wanted to follow up. So that's why I put it on there.
But keep in mind, the ones that everyone selected for the most part bleed into each other, right? If we talk about the police, we gotta talk, Department of Behavioral Health has to be involved. I mean, I'm saying just like DDS would have to be involved or HSCSN, because they're gonna have to talk, you know what I'm saying? They're gonna look to them, you know what I'm saying, as well as us to provide that information. You catch where I'm going? It's going to, and it becomes a bigger, I won't say monster, but it is, you know what I'm saying? Because those other agencies are gonna have to get connected to this. If the police department is now, we're saying you have to do this training, police department's gonna say, we see health, what are they saying? Why? You know what I'm trying to say? That it's all gonna get swirled around is where I'm going. And that's just one.
The chief just indicated she was interested, and the chief of staff has been very interested, and I know that they would come and speak to us, and maybe we could put together the policies and adopt them this year. That was what I was hoping.
Right. But again, like I said, even if we develop policies, you know what I'm saying, it is gonna cause the conversation, you know what I'm saying, with those other agencies that we may touch in a different way if we could if we could touch two birds with one stone, is where I'm going.
Sure, we could do a bigger topic. Just
Kind
say
of, sort of,
both
right?
you.
I don't know.
I agree with you.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. But you catch where I'm going. So with that being said, Catherine, in my head, what I think, could you break it down for me quickly? We're like 4 minutes of what.
Okay. Because I think the most consistency, it looks like, and I'll have to do let me do a really quick tally. So I think there are 3, OMA seems like it is the most consistent, but that's the top one. MPD looks like it might be second. And I think I have one clarification point on the Medicaid issues. Are you wanting to try to lump that together or get more specific about the unwinding and the eligibility issues versus some of the coverage and capacity with providers, or some of the education pieces about selecting MCOs or selecting plans? Because we've heard a couple different things that relate to Medicaid. Are you all wanting to lump all of those together?
Yeah, I think we do have to
Focus on
one area.
particular.
And initially, we're not saying we'll never touch these, but we just have to be realistic with our time frame. You know, right? So we've got, if we're talking
Okay, I
within
got to
9
go.
months, we're talking about, you need to go, Thomas? Okay.
Yeah.
Bye,
Thank you for
Thomas.
coming, Thomas. We
Bye.
appreciate it. Then we've lost someone. So therefore, with that being said, we do need to figure out then what the Medicaid services is based on what Catherine just read to us, of getting clarity from everyone. I was coming from the perspective, and I believe Daisy was too, those who have lost those Medicaid services and trying to advocate concerning that. That's what that meant. But then we had some other Medicaid pieces, as what Catherine was sharing, was, if it was, home care, if it was, identifying, what services are available or not, I believe, and informing. So, there is great potential for several. I think some of these priorities, if we talk about information and resources and things like that, I think of it as more of committee work, you know what I'm saying, than priority work. That's me, just me, in my opinion. So I do think we need to look at it, because there's issues across the board in all these systems, and we just can't get to everything, right? So we just have to be really intentional about where we're putting the pen, you know what I'm saying, on the paper, so that we can write something that brings change, right? So that's my opinion on it, and where I'm suggesting that we look at this more in detail, because we've lost someone, so now we can't vote. I mean, we don't have a quorum. So I would suggest, and Craig, you can input if you'd like, of course, that an email needs to be sent out at this point, you know what I'm saying, that lists all of this, right? And the committee piece of what we're gonna say is committee work or not, because we need to move forward on deciding these things so we can start working on these areas, right? So that's what's most important. Craig, I know you had to leave at 2:30.
Yeah,
Did you have anything to
I
say
do.
about
So
what I just said
my
tonight?
recommendation would be that we had basically unanimous support for OMA, which I think we should be doing anyway. So we could start with that. That was our top priority. And then,
Right, well, one of the things, Craig, you and I could do was probably take the horn of that, you know what I'm saying, the horns on that, take the lead, you know what I'm saying, on moving forward on that piece, so that we can do some work, some other areas. I mean, the
and
ethics council,
Jim, I
you know what
see
I'm
your
saying?
comment, but like you say,
What she
this
said.
is more procedural and it's dealing with DDS. So I think we should do it no matter what. Like I think that's to protect people coming to speak to the group. So I think we should just start on that, so that doesn't, the sooner we can get that hopefully moving, the better. But then I think on our main priority, maybe we decide next time between DCP, the police department, and Medicaid. Those two are very important. And then maybe we make one the alternate in case, like, for example, let's say we engage with the police and they're like, we're not coming, or something like that, then we move to the third one, So we might have an alternate, or vice versa. We start with Medicaid. If we find that we're not able to make much in the way of inroads, maybe we move to the other one.
Okay,
was
Chioma, I think you were at the meeting that we had when OMA did the presentation with us. And I believe you were part of that conversation of, yeah, we really don't need to be a part of this, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Kind of
I don't
situation.
want to belabor this. I just feel like it's a problem that it's too much politics and whatever started that issue. And like DDS has the energy, like when it comes to what the community needs, like not OMA infusing themselves in a space that should be depoliticized is unfortunate. But I think we should just move forward. I think, I don't know, I wouldn't give it space, because we have real issues that we have to deal with, in
Okay.
my opinion. But
Okay, and everybody
I
changes.
could be
mind.
swayed. I
Yeah.
could, I just maybe don't understand it better. I love a sidebar,
Yeah,
like,
but I
just
am
not-
kind of
just don't know why
surprised in your
I should care
statement.
about this.
Yeah, I'm just surprised kind of in your statement, because I know you and myself and Shani and some other people were the first ones to be in that meeting. And
Yeah, I know.
what you all's responses were then, you know what I'm saying? And things change, and Lord knows a lot of things.
My
have
position
changed.
stands.
Uh-huh.
It just, what from a priorities level, like,
You're like, it
that
should
sounds
not be on.
something for the lawyers,
Right.
like, we should just show up and keep doing what we're doing. And my position is
Right.
what it was then. I dare you to try and find me or do some nonsense like that.
Right.
Like, what is the point of waving fingers at vulnerable families trying to make democratic change? I don't see why we would need to even make it a priority to give it more attention when this space can serve better needs for the real bread and butter kitchen table things,
That
which
are going
nobody
on.
is losing
Mhm.
sleep over OMA. They're the least agency I care about in this
Right.
city. So
And
I
I hear you loud and clear, and I hear your point that the energy that we are going to, whatever we're going to expend needs to be intentional and effective because we don't have much energy, right?
Right.
At least I don't, to go through all these different priorities. So we need to make sure we are putting our efforts at the things that we know will bring some hope to bring some change in the areas that are more important. I hear what you're saying from that perspective. And maybe it is that for sure. And maybe it's just not the whole council doing a focus on that, which is what I was saying, that we, that maybe it's just Craig and I having those conversations with the people and coming back and seeing where that all stands. You know what I'm saying? But not that, you know what I'm saying, that it takes us all to do that. You catch where I'm going? Just like the other stuff we were doing with the diversity statement. Craig was going to write a diversity statement, bring it back, and we vote on it, right? But it's not a priority because that used to be on a priority list. And we kind of said, just write something if you feel like you can do that. You know what I'm saying? And bring it back to us and we can vote on it instead of us making it a priority. I mean, you know what I'm saying, that we have to all stop and do together. You catch where I'm going? So we can do some other efforts that we all can do together, which is these other priorities. So we will list and send out what everybody stated, you know what I'm saying? And move
It looks
forward.
like do you want me to go over that again? I counted things up now that I've recorded it differently.
Sorry,
So
what
you
now?
have the OMA at the top, you have MPD with 2 votes, unwinding with 2 votes, transportation with 2 votes. For which priorities people selected. Can you hear me?
Yeah, so only one of them had 3 and the rest are all 2s. Is that what you're
And then
saying?
there are 3 2s. Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's 3 2s. What's the, 3 2s.
You have unwinding,
Okay.
Medicaid unwinding, you have
Yeah.
transportation, and then you have the police.
Okay, well, from my
Mhm.
perspective, and Craig and I can talk, if that's something that OMA may be off of it as for a priority, and it's just something that he and I work towards trying to figure that out and bringing back. And then we make it a priority, more intentional priority in the sense of, not intentional, but a group council, you know what I'm saying, efforts to go forth on these other, whatever those 2 that are after that. You see where I'm going? But again, we have to vote on it. So with that being said, we might, and I'm going to say this without Craig here, because I can do that, executive decision here, that we might have to get on a 15-minute call or something, you know what I'm saying, meeting to make this decision, because I don't want to wait till April, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Our next one is. We may have to just get on a 15-minute meeting, even if it's evening or something, so that we
Right.
can decide on this and start moving forward. Okay. Yes, Daisy, I think I hear you.
Yeah, okay, the OMA piece,
Mhm.
there's a document that was first generated when the Family Support Council started that
Mhm.
explained the law, where it came from. And
Mhm,
the
mhm.
thing is, it absolutely goes against this OMA
Mhm.
process that they're talking about. You can't do it. It's literally the way the thing is documented. I will see if I can find the hard copy. If I can't, I know the person who generated it, and I'll see if I can get it to you in the next week or so. But it literally, you can't do OMA for the Family Support Council. That's not how we were structured or set up. And that's the law they made. So all of
Yeah.
a sudden, them deciding in this thing in 2008 about OMA, they didn't consider they didn't consider the legislation that created the Family Support Council. It literally takes the teeth out of Family Support Council. So if the
Okay.
date match up, I'll get it, and you all look at it, and it's an
Okay.
argument to use. Okay.
Okay. So we'll construct an email. Thank you, Daisy. We'll construct an email that summarizing today's situation, as well as and I'll probably say at this point in time, it'll probably be something in the evening or something, or after 4 when people are off work or whatever, so that we
Okay.
can have a 15 or 30-minute meeting or something to finalize this part, okay?
Okay.
Because we were in March. So we want to start moving forward on some other areas. All right, on these
Okay.
priorities. Thank you all for a lovely meeting. we may not have voted, but we sure did have some intense conversation and come to some good discussion on where we're going to, what types of things we're going to hopefully move forward and be successful in, right?
Okay, yes, yes.
And happy birthday to our March birthdays, and you know why I'm saying that, Chioma and myself. Is there
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
Birthday to me.
Another voice there. under the
I
top.
forget, I know, I just,
And happy Intellectual Developmental Disabilities Month. Rest in peace, Joy Evans.
Send out the calendar too. Thanks, Chioma. I'll send that,
Okay,
the calendar that I
Chioma,
saw
that's
come out.
right, I forgot, that's right, thank
Mhm.
you for saying that, there's please, we'll send out that calendar, and it didn't get put on the calendar, I don't know why, but Family Ties of DC has something on the 26th, which is advocating around DDA. It's Jonathan Martinez is going to be with us, and it's for families, caregivers exclusively. It should be a very intense and productive conversation. So I would love for to make sure everybody participates, but it didn't make it on the calendar. I don't know why, but hopefully advertisement will be going out about it. But otherwise, please participate in everything else if you can that is going on this month.
Okay.
All
Happy
right,
birthday.
Azeb, let me know when you can talk, okay? Can you talk, Azeb?
Yes.
Okay, did you stop the recording?
It's still
Catherine?
recording.